I'd like to call this meeting to order. I chose 10 o'clock straight up. So this is the Weber County Commission Board meeting dated today, the 26th of March 2019. We'd like to welcome you all here today. It's good to have you here. We'll start this meeting today with an invocation by Scott Park, Pledge of Allegiance by Stacy Skeen, and a Thought of the Day by me. Then we'll go to that point. So, Scott?
Our dear Heavenly Father, we are so very grateful for this chance that we have now to meet together to conduct Thy business and the people's business here in this county. We are grateful, Father, for this country in which we live and the blessings of freedoms which we have enjoyed throughout our lives. We are grateful, Father, for Thy Spirit and pray that Thou will continue to bless this nation and this county this day, that we may conduct business in accordance with Thy will and Thy principles. And we pray for these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please stand and join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, we've had a very busy week. This weekend, we were at three different meetings. If you count them all, it was really a busy weekend. But my thought of the day today, I wanted to talk on the fact that this Mueller report just come out and found nothing wrong with the president. And I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. I think you ought to be grateful they found no problem, that our country's running the way it should run and that everything's good. And of course, that's on that same vein, that same thought that we as a county need to be running. We need to realize at all times that we do the people's business here and that we're doing our very best to keep this county running appropriately, to make sure that we serve the people's interest here, that we do the very best we can to keep this county fiscally strong and do the very best we can to serve while we're here, and realize that we're only here for a short time and we'll turn these seats over to somebody else. And of course, that's what this great republic that is founded is based on, the fact that everybody gets a chance to serve, and we don't have kings. Nobody's king here. And so I'm grateful for that, and grateful for the opportunity we have to serve as commissioners, and I'm grateful for you too. You're wonderful people and wonderful to serve with. So I'll leave it at that. All right, our public comments today. Is there anybody here that has come before the commission that wants to comment, complain, do whatever? Now's your time. You know, it's been a while since we haven't had anybody get up. All right, we'll go to the next items on the agenda, our consent items. Item number 1 is warrants, 1736 through 1741 and 437726 through 438006 in the amount of $1,607,844,000. Item 2 is our purchase orders for $117,756. Item 3 is the approval of the minutes from March 12th. Item 4 is Utah State University Extension Office approval of surplus office, a couple of chairs that they want to get rid of. Item 5 is a request for approval of a retirement agreement by and between Weber County and the following individuals: Michael Hurst, Clarence Shaw, Jan Wilson, Ann Booth, Angela Mueller, and Christopher L. Shaw. Is there any questions?
Commissioner?
Yes.
It's also the minutes for the 19th of March.
Oh, and also the minutes. Oh, I missed that, didn't I? I didn't read that. Thanks, Fatima. I appreciate you calling my attention to that. So also the minute approval for the 19th of March is in there. Any questions on this?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner.
It's a little, for me, some of the names on the retirement agreements, I've known for a long time and have a tremendous amount of respect. When we get to the point where we do a retirement agreement, it means that the employees have worked a lot of years and given a lot of time in their jobs and in service. And these in particular, there's 3 or 4 on there that I've, over the last, for my 25 years here, it's just, it's been a little more. It's kind of like a little piece of family, and to see their names, it's just, but I appreciate their service very much.
Thank you. That's, I appreciate that. And you're right. You look at some of those like Jan, she's been around a long time, and others on there. You wish them well in their retirement, and you hate to see them go, but life moves on, doesn't it?
And very proficient in what they did. Very proficient, yeah.
Very good in what they did. All right. I'm looking for a motion.
Want to hear it?
Oh, yeah. Ricky, I'm sorry. I keep forgetting to go to you. Why don't you go through and explain the warrants and purchase orders?
You bet. This week we issued 21 purchase orders for $118,000. A third of that amount, or $39,000, is for the library, and that's for audio-visual upgrades, software renewals, and some equipment. 27%, or $31,000, is for our Golden Spike Event Center, and that will get us a couple of sewer pumps and some concessions supplies. 16%, or $19,000, is for our roads department. About half of that was truck repairs, and then some sweeping services and some supplies. As far as checks, we issued 287 checks this week for $1.6 million. A third of that amount, or $527,000, was for the West 12th Street utility installation that put in some stormwater, water lines, etc., and that's paid for by the area of government funds, WACOG funds. 12%, or $191,000, was our monthly payment to have paramedic services. And then we had 4 items at 7%, or about $107,000. WEBER Housing Authority, that we make payments on behalf of them. Those were for the monthly housing payments. Corridor preservation payments, that was to the Skyline Drive project in Pleasant View. For the jail, we had $106,000 for culinary, mental health services, and health services, as well as utilities. The sheriff bought some in-car video cameras, and then we also made the monthly payment on the employee life, accident, and short-term disability insurance. That's it.
Thank you. So, prior to this meeting, we sit down with Ricky and go through these purchases and with Jason and the warrants, and make sure that these are being paid appropriately. You know, it's interesting. We go through a ton of money in this county, and a fair amount of it is passed through. And so to make sure that this pass-through happens the way it's supposed to do, and that we don't get any of these dollars intertwined or mixed, it's a little complicated. So we go through these with these guys individually on each one of those. And I vouch for their today for their competency and how well they do in that. You guys do a great job, Ricky and Scott. So with that, now I'd consider.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I would make a motion to approve the consent items F on the agenda 1 through 5.
Second.
And motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It has been approved. All right, we'll go to item G1. Jared Anderson, request for approval of an interlocal agreement between Weber County and North Ogden City on this Golden Spike Storm Drain Coalition. We'd have Blaine Franson do it, only he retired last week.
That's correct. So I'll be taking these over for the time being. But good morning, commissioners, and as you're well aware, good morning. That Blaine has been doing these. This will be the 9th that we have marked off, and we have 6 remaining. So we're really getting a good jump on these and getting them taken care of. So if you have any questions on this.
No questions.
I don't have any questions. Mr. Chair, I move that we accept G1 as I believe it's an interlocal agreement resolution. Wouldn't it be at number 21?
Yeah, number 21, that's right.
Second.
And a second. Fatima?
Commissioner Harvey?
Aye?
Commissioner Faur?
Aye.
Chair Jenkins?
Aye. So Jared, while we're on that, I worry a little bit about our spring runoff. And that's what this is all about, of course. They always told us when I was in the legislature, you need to worry about the last 2 weeks of March and the first 2 weeks of April. Well, the first week of that was last week. We had a lot of snow dumped in the mountains. So the second week's this week, and we got a storm lined up for Thursday and Friday. So right now, it looks like we're going to hit home runs on 50% of these. We could be in trouble with our runoff.
Yes. No, I agree with you, and I agree with how that's stated, and that's really why we meet us as often as we do. Why we're in such close connection with emergency management director, with Weber Basin, with how the reservoirs are operating, and how they're so. Yeah, there's a lot of background communication and understanding, and where the water's being held back, and what we need to do and why. So, but yes, I would agree that we do need to keep our eye on that.
So 2 weeks, I've got Weber Basin coming in here to give us a little report on what they see for the upper Weber River Basin and how it's going to come down. But in the meantime, I've met with several, Joe Hadley and Sean and Bill, and everybody feels like right now we're in pretty good shape as the county. Do you agree with that?
We haven't seen the typical flooding in the typical time frame. It's all weather permitting. We're hoping.
I understand that, but I mean we're in pretty good shape.
Right now, we are in good shape right now. Yes, today.
Yeah. I don't know. I worry about it. I think this could be one of those years, depending on what the next few weeks bring.
We got 4 weeks before we're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, next item. G2, request for a right-of-way contract to Weber County bench land on Little Weber Cutoff Canal. Jared?
Yes, this property, we've been working with these owners for quite some time. They went as far as subdividing the property and separating it out, and so it took a lot of work and going back and forth. And but we do have this, super excited to finally have this contract before you and completed. This is for the upper portion of that Little Weber Cutoff Channel to have that property finalized. We did have a right occupy agreement in place, so we did have the ability to construct that. We just needed to get the property finalized.
Very good. This will be G2. G1.
Question, Mr.
Yes.
So is this going to be an extension of irrigation line or canal?
What this is, it's called the Little Weber Cutoff Channel. It's the big concrete channel that was built for when the river rises and we have big gates that open up. So this property is the upper portion between 500 West and the river. That's where this property is, and this property really, the owners sold off the main portion of the property, and the remaining portion is really just what covers this concrete channel and access on both sides of the channel.
So the channel's already, they're just buying the right of way.
Correct.
Is that correct?
This is out by Gary Nelson's.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I looked at that. Okay.
Great.
Any more questions? Motion?
Motion to approve agenda item G3, approval of resolution, G2, right of way contract between Weber County Benchland and Weber Cutoff.
Second.
All right, motion made second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It passes.
Thank you.
Now, Jared, before you leave,
Yes.
on this, I was out west with Randy Marriott 3 weeks ago, and he says that we have not dug that channel to the lake. So if we end up using that, we flood him. Is there truth to that, or where do we go from here? Do we have a little work yet to do on the lower part of that?
I would have to see what portion he's talking about. My understanding is the majority has been cleaned out and ready for that water to flow out. we've updated a lot of crossings. The remaining crossing we have is actually on his property. So we've had a little bit of a difficult issue trying to figure out how to get on and have the ability to update that crossing. He wants to be involved in that also. So we're still working on that and negotiating that. But the understanding I have was that the majority of portion of that water getting out has been cleaned.
Well, if we were going to do anything, we got 3 or 4 weeks to do that. Would you contact him this week and get back to me?
I will.
Based on your conversation?
I will.
Because if we have some left to do there, I want to do it right now.
Yep.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
You bet.
You're great.
Thanks.
All right. Item G3 is a request for approval of resolution of the County Commissioners of Weber County appointing members to the Weber County Fair Board. Ashton Wilson. How are you?
Good morning.
Morning.
Okay, so I'm requesting 4 members on our board. 2 are just renewing their terms. So Susan Clontz for 1 year, Glenda Lee for 1 year, and then 2 new members. Teddy Anderson was a superintendent in our exhibit hall during the fair, and then Connie Robinson is a new member, and both of those are for 4 years.
All right. Commissioners, do you have any questions on that?
Great people. Great people.
Yeah, we've about filled our board, so we got a full house.
Appreciate you making this something that comes before the commission so that it provides the necessary processes. Thank you very much. And
I'm excited. 2 of those I know very well, Susan and Teddy, and they should be very good at this.
Absolutely.
All right, any other questions?
Great to see this quality of people that are willing to serve on board, so.
Yeah, I'm excited about that too, Gage. Okay, I'm ready for a motion.
I'll make the motion that we accept the names as presented, those 4 names to the Weber County Fair Board.
Very good.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's a roll call.
It passes.
It's a roll call.
Roll call.
Oh, it's a roll call on this one. Oh, it's a
Commissioner Hart-
resolution. Doggone, I'm sorry about that.
You're
Go
fine.
ahead, Fatima.
Commissioner Harvey?
Aye.
Commissioner Faur?
Aye.
And Chair Jenkins.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, next item should have been moved to the consent, but on our agenda it's not, so I didn't call it that way. Item G4 is a request for approval of Weber County Combined Space Entry Policy and Procedures. Sarah Swan. Like I say, I didn't, this was supposed to be on the consent, but it never got to there on the agenda, so I didn't think I could.
That's okay. It's my
Put it in
pleasure to
that
come
way.
and speak to you. This policy is required by OSHA. It's just simply following OSHA guidelines. It's nothing exciting or special.
We want to make sure OSHA's happy.
Absolutely.
Any questions?
I've got no questions. I appreciate you cleaning it up, Sarah.
No, it makes sense. We're just following OSHA guidelines, correct?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd move to approve agenda item G4.
Second?
And a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Very good. Item 5 is a request for approval of a resolution of the Weber County Commission appointing members to the Weber Area Dispatch 911 and Emergency Services District.
Good
Tina
morning.
Matthew.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We are in need of replacing Mayor Truitt or reconfirming Mayor Truitt to the board. His term expired December of 2018. And James Ebert, his term also expired in December of 2018. So this resolution would reappoint Mayor Truitt and appoint Commissioner Gage Frower. Very
good. Questions?
We've discussed this a little bit with the 911. The 2 of you have been serving on there, and Mr. Chair, if you're ready to entertain a motion,
I am.
I'll make the motion that we accept the applications for the Weber Area Dispatch 911 and Emergency Service District for Mayor Jim Truitt and Commissioner Gage Frower to serve as members of that board.
Second.
Motion and second. So this is resolution 22. 23.
Commissioner Harvey?
Aye.
I can't get him.
Commissioner Faur?
Aye.
And Chair Jenkins?
Aye. Very good. Thank you, Tina. We'll see you momentarily. All right, number 6 is a request for approval of a contract binding between Weber County and the Chinese Railroad Workers Descendants Association. You don't look like
I just
Cassie
found out I'm
Bybee.
filling in for Cassie Bybee. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Or Marty.
This is a contract with the Weber County, or the Chinese Railroad Workers Descendant Association in partnership with Zions Bank, Spike 150, and us to present Gold Mountain during the Spike 150 celebration. So this is a partnership where we're giving that we want to waive the rental for the theater and trade for a sponsorship alongside Zions Bank and Spike 150 to present that in the theater.
Questions?
No, this is going to be really exciting, this 150th anniversary on May 10th, 9th, 10th, in that time period. People just, they've heard a little bit, but we're expecting 200 to 250,000 people here locally. This will just be another thing that just shows Ogden was the place where they met between East and West. It changed the world, and so I'm great.
That's right. There's going to be a lot going on. We're presenting 2 different plays during that week, Wedding of the Rails and this Gold Mountain as well in the theater. So putting some people into the seats.
Aren't we also, isn't there a movie on UP? That's
Yes.
being shown at the same time, too?
Yeah.
Yeah, this can be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think this is great. I'm not sure a lot of us appreciate the role that the Chinese played in building that railroad. I happen to have a grandfather on my mother's side that was top official with the UP back in the early 1900s, late 1800s, that built a section in charge of the UP from all the way through Wyoming into Utah. And he had a lot of artifacts that his Chinese workers gave him through the years that I still have possession of, a few of those. But it goes a long time back, but I remember him talking about the close relationship he had with these Chinese workers, and that in his opinion, the railroad never would have been complete, at least in the timely manner that it did without the Chinese workers. So I don't think we can pay enough respect to these people that really built the railroad. So this is great, and we can celebrate their history as well when we celebrate the 150. So I very much appreciate this.
Great. All right, I'm ready for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve agenda item G6, the request for approval of contract between Weber County and the Chinese Railroad Workers.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 It's approved unanimously. Thank you, Marty. Item 7 is a request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and the Spiker High School Rodeo Club to hold the Spiker Rodeo, High School Rodeo at the Golden Spike Event Center. Duncan Olson. This is a big deal, Duncan.
This one's a good one. We're excited for this one. This is the contract. Really, it's before you mainly because we changed the rates to match our school district rates. There is a little bit of a sponsorship that we get recognized on their stuff, but the main reason is we have it set up to where we give a discount to the Ogden and Weber school districts.
Questions, either?
I think it's great that, you just did like preseason football or like preseason basketball, or you just did a preseason high school event too. Can you tell us how that worked out?
Yeah, that went awesome. I mean, we had kids from all over, even Canada. We had some from Texas and Wyoming, Montana, Oregon, California, Nevada, everywhere in between. And we did the junior high, and that was really successful this year. We did compete with the American, which is one of the biggest rodeos in the country. So our numbers weren't as good as we thought they would be, but it was still very successful. All of our numbers were up, and it was awesome. And now it's time for the regular season. Now the Spikers are here, and that kind of gets the spring rodeo season off. So,
Mr. Chair, I think it's great that we're using facilities that have been built with taxpayer money to help perpetuate activities for Weber County youth, but not just Weber County youth, all youth, and use them to help strengthen our heritage and perpetuate their education in the Western way of life. I think it's wonderful. So with that, I'd make a motion that we approve the contract between Weber County and the Spikers High School Rodeo to put on that Spikers Rodeo here.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thanks,
That's
Commissioners.
approved, you bet. Thank you, Duncan. Next is approval for a contract binding between Weber County and Commander Industrial for the dismantling of our sprung structures tent.
Exactly.
Bill Ross.
This is just the contract, as we've had discussions previous to this, of the integrity of that structure there, and with the membrane that's come off, there's a need that comes down immediately, and so this is just a contract for Commander Industrial Group to come and to dismantle, mark, and catalog the substructure parts and components for future reassembly. So the cost of that was $37,610. We did have other bids in regards to this, and they were the low bid, so we went with them as they were qualified to do that. So,
Questions, Commissioners?
We've been working on this for a while,
Yeah.
especially.
No, this is great. I think,
Glad to get this one done.
and the cost seems to be very much in line too, so.
yeah, it's very,
Appreciate you doing that.
very good price to do that.
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion to approve the contract between Weber County and Commodore Industrial for our sprung structure.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's done. Thank you, Bill. Next is I need a motion to go into a public hearing so we can review or do a quarterly review of the 2019 budget.
So move.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded that we close this meeting and go in and reconvene into a public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are now convened. Mr. Scott Park. Very good.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
So you have before you a resolution to amend the operating and capital budgets for the 2019 calendar year. We've sat and reviewed each one of these budget adjustments individually, but I'll just go over them in a brief, if you wouldn't mind. We have some new grants that we've received out of the Sheriff's Office, so we're asking to increase both the revenue and expenditure budget by just under $35,000. We have some expenditures from our Monument Preservation Fund that didn't get added to the 2019 budget, so we're just putting those in there. The money comes from the Monument Preservation Fund. It's already out there in earmarked form. We have some sale of fixed assets. We want to use that revenue for some building improvements, and then the bulk of the request is a rollover from the prior year. So these were projects that were approved in prior years that have been that just didn't get finished at the end of the year. So we're asking to roll that money over into 2019. So it's no new funding. This is money that was already appropriated in the previous year. It just didn't get spent. So these various departments are asking for have permission to roll that money over into the 2019 budget. And then we had a couple of accounting adjustments that we do every year and some cleanup items in the budget. So unless you have any specific questions on the budget.
The only question I have, Scott, is I was wondering if next quarter when you do this, when we receive this, if you could highlight in red those changes.
Highlight in red.
Well, when I sit here and look at that budget and the changes you're making in it, it's hard for me to distinguish exactly what those are.
Okay. I can work with you just to make sure that we have a good format that's
Yeah,
clear.
just make this format a little easier to
Okay.
identify. That's my only concern. Other than that, everything's great. Commissioners, you got any questions on those?
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Scott, can you, I may have asked you this before, but our Blue Stakes Review Services, what's the change on that?
So this was there's a contract with the surveyor's office to have Blue Stakes map the markers.
Right.
And anytime somebody wants to come in and disturb some land around a marker, that Blue Stakes is out there and marking it. So this is to pay for that service. It wasn't included in the original 2019 budget request, but this money is going to come out of the Monument Preservation Fund, so it's not coming out of our general fund. So it was an oversight. It wasn't included in the 2019 budget. So they're just asking for permission to spend that Monument Preservation Fund for the Blue Stakes services.
Yeah, and this is something we've talked about before with Blue Stakes and the monument preservation, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I was talking to Devin Anderson, who was the surveyor here, and he said since they've started that Blue Stake program, it's really going to change the face of how we do business in Weber County. Keeping in mind that we're the only county in the state of Utah that does this, but this will also protect those monuments. And since so many people are we have a responsibility to protect land rights, property, and where that fence goes has been an issue every time I've moved in every property. Where's the line? Where's the line? And this just protects that. And if people get within a certain distance of that, it's a really good thing that our surveyors have done up there. I commend them for their work. So this is a good thing.
The only question I have here is everybody else participates in that blue stake process, no charge. And we're paying $26,000 a year. That seems like pretty happy.
There was something to do with a software share, and we're sharing in the hard cost of notification. We'll recover that plus extra on that, so it's going to help. Mm-hmm.
It'll be in that plus.
It'll be in that plus.
Well, there's also do you know, Scott, if did the monument legislation get passed? Does anybody know? Because I worked with Deborah on that.
That's right.
I can't, I apologize. I didn't follow up on that bill.
We do charge fees
But
whenever
that was
there's
the-
permits for the
Yeah,
monuments.
that's true.
Yeah, but I don't know specifically on
That
that.
bill was on a line to pass. I followed it to that point, and then I got involved in those others and kind of dropped it.
Yeah, I did too. I apologize. But yeah, that would have been given the surveyor the ability to do some additional due diligence when people came in and asked for subdivisions to make sure that we had monument preservation and charge them for that, so.
Your
Follow up
point,
on
Mr. Chair, is well taken, but I think there was something associated with that's why. I mean, you're a good point, but yes.
Very good.
Okay.
Thanks, Scott.
Yep.
So with that in mind, is there anybody in the office who came to comment today to in our public hearing on the budget, on our review of it? Change. I don't see any hands or anybody stepping forward, so I'm ready to close this public hearing.
Motion to approve or to close public hearing and reconvene a public meeting.
Motion.
Second.
And second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So we're back in our public meeting now. So, would you like to approve this?
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion
Yes.
to approve the amendments as presented in our public hearing to the amendments for the operating capital budget for Weber County calendar year 2019.
Resolution 24.
Resolution 24.
Second?
And a second. So, I want to thank you, Scott, for keeping up on this. We're very pleased the way you handle our budget.
Yep,
And
exactly.
your accessibility to us as commissioners. Man, if I have an issue come up, I can call you on the phone, and 9 times out of 10, you'll be in my office in 5 minutes. So I appreciate that.
Exactly.
Roll call.
Commissioner Harvey?
Aye?
Commissioner Farrar?
Aye.
And Chair Jenkins?
Aye. Very good. Thank you. Commissioner comments? You want to say anything? Time's yours.
No, I think, appreciate the opportunity. I know we all had some different directions we went this weekend, but I think a lot was accomplished, and look forward to some exciting things coming this week.
We're in a better position today with working with Ogden City than I think we've been in decades. And I think we're getting a lot more done. And in reference to the snowpack thing that I attended the Water Users Conference recently, and while some of the colder temperatures, especially with more moisture, is a little bit of a concern, it's also good to note that they reported that many of our, certainly our small reservoirs, and even some of the big ones, most of those will be filled this year. And so that's a good place to be. It's always good to have enough in this desert state. And so there's a lot of things that are happening. They're just wonderful. And
It'll be interesting to see if the Virgin River floods this year. I was in a meeting with Dean Cox from down there. He's one of the commissioners from down there. He had his iPad up and he says, "Look at that right there." And it was a camera at his cabin. and the snow was equal with the bottom of the roof line of the cabin. So it was 8 or 9 feet in the air. And I said, where is that, Dean? And he said, that's about a mile from Zion's National Park. So they got a lot of snow up there.
I can second that. I was actually in southern Utah this week and looked at the mountains over towards Snow Canyon. And the person that I was with asked me if I'd ever seen that much snow in the last number of years I've been in St. George, and I said, no, I can't remember. So there's a lot of snow yet to come down, and the Virgin was running pretty strong over the weekend, so
Was it?
I hope that this comes off in a very timely fashion.
I agree with that.
Well, you know, when we have all those visitors for the Spike 150, if they decide to travel south, they'll have plenty to drink.
So, all right, how about a motion to adjourn? I don't
Second.
think we need a second. Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. We're adjourned.